Thank you, Mr. Acting Chairman, and thank you to the panelists for coming. I want to recognize and thank my colleagues on both sides of the aisle for working together on these bills. These are bills that we passed in the last Congress overwhelmingly, and we are here again to consider them, to maybe improve them, and to get your feedback. Mr. Deese, there is an FMC operation in the State of Delaware. We appreciate that presence there, and nice to see you this morning. As you may know, Delaware is a center of excellence for corporate formation, corporate governance, corporate law. Most of that is because of the expertise and the nature of our Delaware Chancery Court, where Delaware-based domiciled companies can get their disputes litigated in a way that quickly and by expert judges. And so we spend a lot of time focusing on the issues here that we are talking about today. Some of my friends that work in the Division of Corporation alerted me to a problem that we were having in this country with IPOs, which led to my co-sponsoring the IPO on-ramp bill with my friend Mr. Fincher from Tennessee, who I notice is not here. So I would like to ask a couple questions about that. I have been told from the folks at corporations that IPO numbers are way up. And at least anecdotal feedback is that the IPO on-ramp bill was instrumental in the decisions that some of those emerging growth companies made to go public. Mr. Kovacs, one of the things we have heard is for bio companies and pharmaceutical companies, maybe the on-ramp isn't long enough. It's 5 years, as you may know, and with different stages. Could you comment on that, whether that's an issue for bio and pharmaceutical companies, and whether we ought to look at that question?
Yeah, I think what's interesting from the on-ramp, 5 years is actually, I think, an interesting and good runway, but it's some of the other limitations for emerging growth companies when you're successful that reduce that on-ramp. For instance, we've been the benefit of a strong capital market and a lot of interest in biotech, which has brought our stock price and our market cap above this $700 million threshold. And so now this year we will lose our ability of that 5-year runway, and we'll have to become SOX compliant under 404B, which will incur additional burdens and costs to our company in north of $1 million. So
that would be helpful.
Yeah.
One of the things we hear, again, somewhat anecdotally, the people that I've talked to, is that the blackout period, for want of a better term, where emerging growth companies can keep their information confidential as they explore the potential of going public, has been the most significant thing. Actually, not the 404B audit thing, which we thought would be the big incentive. Do you have any comment on there and how that might be improved and enhanced?
Yeah, investing, at least in biotech, where I think there's been a huge boon in terms of the number of IPOs as a result of the Jobs Act, investing in biotech is complicated because the investors have to spend a lot of time going through preclinical data, thinking about toxicity issues. It's a complicated investment. And so to be on a road show where you get a 30-minute interview effectively with all these investors isn't enough time to evaluate. And therefore, being able to go and do test the waters meetings while you're on file is important, as well as many companies like the idea to be able to file confidentially, because the biotech market can swing positively and negatively pretty quickly, and it's always sort of be a tainted company if the market went away when you were on file and you say, well, you couldn't get your deal done. So this allows companies to file and just be on file publicly for 30 days before you launch your deal. So both of those have been positive.
Any other panelists with comments, positive or negative? Please.
I would comment very positively with respect to the Jobs Act and the benefits that it's bestowed. I definitely think that there has been some huge advantages as far as the on-ramps, and I know that a lot of companies have been taking advantage of that, and we're seeing the results. There are a couple of bills that affect the on-ramp and the EGCs, and I am a little concerned, particularly about the follow-on provision having to do with EGCs. I'm not sure of its status right now, whether it's still part of the bill or not, but I think that that specifically is, quite problematic insofar as it would allow public filing 2 days before stock is to be issued, which seems to me to be an unworkably short period for the public to evaluate anything. In addition, the idea of shortening the period from between public filing and the roadshows from 21 to 15 days strikes me as a bad idea. unnecessary because right now the average is something more like 40 days before the roadshow takes place. And the justification that, oh, this will allow a company to dive through a market window before the market goes down is, to my mind, just a way of saying that's a way to take money from investors who immediately are going to experience a diminution in value.
Thank you very much. I see my time has expired. I yield back.